Oh, there it is. Hey, everybody.
It moves.
The camera moves.
It moved, Jerry.
It moved. That's so bad.
Yes.
You actually knew that one, huh, JJ?
Come
You
on,
young man.
Skull, everybody.
Cheers, guys.
All right, yeah. Lex just pulls up this Woodford Reserve. He's like, "Hey, man, I got." I'm like, "That was a gift for me the other day."
It was on
Like,
the
that's
shelf.
what we're drinking
I
today,
left it-
Shane. He's
I
like,
left it
"Ooh."
here.
Yeah, that's
All
what
right,
you get for
no
leaving
worries.
liquor where I can find it.
Yeah. Okay. So this podcast is all about Annie's insistence that we finally cover this subject.
Now, is it Annie or is it everybody telling Annie and she's just looking out for her end users?
That's really what it is, yeah.
Probably.
And
yeah.
Annie, quit caring about people.
Gosh.
So, my stance has always been, when it comes to printers, and especially if you're in an Active Directory environment, use group policy.
Agreed.
But
Agreed.
but there's obviously there's a sizable portion of folks that don't want to do that, or for whatever reason, it's not smart in their environment. So we're going to cover a couple of ways that we know how to deploy printers and printer drivers to your computers using PDQ deploy.
Now, just want to put a little caveat in here, guys. We don't do this a lot, so the stuff we've tested, it works for what we've tested. So make sure you test in your environment before you start doing this.
Well, that pretty much goes with everything we say, and by
Yeah, I
we
would
I
agree
mean
with
Lex.
that. Me?
All right, so let's cover a couple of common use cases. Now, number one, if you're using a print server,
That's the easiest way to do it.
obviously you've got printers that are on print servers. The drivers are out there, so that basically I can come out. Your user could just, we've got a token is a print server.
Print
here.
server.
And they can just run up to to one of these guys and just
Right click and connect.
connect, and it downloads the drivers as long as you have the drivers installed on the print server, yada yada. And then this printer is here, but it's as printers are usually done, that it's per user.
Yeah.
So that's where GPOs come in so well, because you could have a user level GPO that just kind of has printers follow that user wherever they go. Anyway,
So with that, I mean,
What we're
use
gonna do-
GPOs if you can. Otherwise, let me run you through doing a printer install.
and in this case, I think we've got
Let's do the one from the print server. Okay.
and you had this go. We're gonna look at this. We've got 2 command steps in this one, and now.
Basically, you're calling the printer UI from System32, so,
And I see that you're doing the /GA, which means it's a global add. So this is a way to add a printer from a print server for all users on that computer. So that's a nice thing. And by the way, some of you may say, "Well, print UI." A very common way to do this is to actually run like a run DLL 32, which is in your System32 directory, and then it's print UI. Let's see, run DLL32. Sorry. Now it's.
You know what, man? Let's just stick with the way
we're
I
gonna
did
stick
this,
it.
okay?
Yeah, it's a print UI. Anyway, well, so I'll show you guys. There's a print UI
I dare you
exe.
to show them afterwards.
There's a print UI exe that honestly you don't have to run that use the run DLL32.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
All right, the print UI, again, GA. Now, the big thing is when I was testing this, launched it out, and it would install the printer. I'm like, well, what happens if I do it again? Well, before I put that queue in there for quiet, and it basically doesn't show anything, it would, for whatever user was logged on, it'd pop up saying this printer already exists. So if you forget that queue, it's going to hang, okay?
It could hang, yes. So the /Q means ignore errors. Now, once again, Lex, what's a good way to find out what the usage statements are?
Well, you run that print UI with a /question mark. There you go.
And this will give you all. So you can see, he's got the /GA, that's the global add, and the /Q. And it's actually, the Q is important in the position where you're going
Where
to
it
go.
falls, yes.
And then, of course, the /N. And this is the name of the printer, including the print server that you're going to go to. So that's actually the name of the printer. Yeah, sure, I'll move that. Sorry, JJ. So that's just the usage for print UI. Anyway. There you
Yep,
go.
live it, love it, read it.
Now, Lex did mention the /Q. If you're pushing this out to a computer that already has this printer,
Yep.
you're going to get that error. One thing you could do if you want is have another step run
Does it
before.
delete the printer.
Yeah, so instead of a GA, we've got a /GD, which is a global delete. And then you just specify those. Of course, you could run as many connections to printers here as you want, just one per line.
Yep.
And by doing this way, it will delete that printer if it exists on that target and then recreate it. It's up to you how you want to do that.
Hey, did you find out if you do that and it was their default printer before, when you adds it, does it come back as their default? Still with the chunk?
So we actually had a question. Might show that up a little later on how do you set the default. And I GPO. I still have a hard time with that one. Now, when you add we're going to cover another example where you add a printer, not from a print server, but you're actually adding a port and then installing the drivers and adding that printer. That I've seen that one. Whatever the last one you add, printer, it becomes their default.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just something to note, guys.
But in this case, no, I don't know.
So, should we deploy this one?
Yeah, sure, we can do that.
All right. We'll get this out of the way and move on to more difficult things, yes?
That sounds good. Let's hurry, and I'm going to go to Costanza here. I'm just going to remote. I'm going to run a remote desktop to this computer. So what we're going to do is let's just take
Printers and
Let's go
devices.
to printers and devices. So we don't see that printer that exists
Lexmark
there.
North.
Correct.
So,
Now we'll just deploy that.
Control D, type in Costanza.
Yeah, obviously there's
That's
a lot
right.
of ways that you can choose your targets here.
Shane, you need a drink, man.
I need a lot more than a drink, dude. Cheers. Now, we've heard some people say, you know, you might want to stop and start your printer service. It's called Spooler. When you're making changes like this, to kind of force those changes to be apparent to the end users. But you know, it's hit and miss. Sometimes I've noticed that I've had to, and sometimes I haven't.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you come in here, you'll notice, hey, I don't see that printer that I just added. If you're quickly checking, sometimes it'll show up, sometimes it won't. A great way to figure out if it's there really is just to try to print something.
Wow, that
Still hasn't added yet. Okay.
take a minute on that. Okay, so the real debate now is, does my package work? I did this package before I started drinking, okay?
There you go.
It looks legit to me.
Yeah, it does look good.
Do you guys still have the chat window open from
We do have the
YouTube?
chat window open.
Take a look at
I didn't know that it was open.
at Roberts.
Roberts.
Yeah, okay, so the question here, while we're waiting for that to go, can't you just add the /y? The /y, I've only been able to get that to work. The /y is to set the default printer. And I've only been able to get that to work when I'm running that as the logged on user. I've never been able to get that to work
As a global
properly
launch to
when
it.
you're doing a GA,
Yeah.
like the global ad. And I've tried quite a few different ways of doing that, and it's just always coming back with an error. So try that. If you can figure out a way, by all means, throw it out there. Let us know. The company.
Well, now I'm debating whether my package is working. It's not showing up yet.
Figure it out. I'm not too worried.
Really, it worked earlier. Anywho, I'm instilling a lot of confidence in these people in my ability to make packages, huh?
It's okay, dude. Don't worry about it.
Once again,
I'm going to try this one more time. No, I still didn't add it. So I think you got the sequences right. So one thing we can do, good troubleshooting. So let's say maybe there was an error coming along. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to remove that /q.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And then we can watch it, see, try and install it.
And then I'm going to change the option to go to deploy user interactive. What this means now, this works if you're watching the target because we want to see if there's any error that pops up. I'm going to redeploy.
Yeah.
So I've got deploy user interactive. We removed the /q so that if there is an error, it's supposed to
It'll
pop
it
up.
up. JJ says we've got a question too, so
Go ahead.
should we hit it? How can I remove all network printers from all users in a computer? First question, how can I add network printer to all existing users in a computer?
Okay.
I think
Well,
we're working on that one right
We're
now.
working on the
actually.
second part right now, but it's obviously not working. And no error message has popped up.
Wow.
You know what this comes down? By the way, if you're on our support forums, El Trevino it has a couple of forums on articles on deploying printers, and we're going to actually cover what MUNI had discussed later on. But you can tell, let's see if I can find this one. Yeah, that's it right there. That's the run DLL, print UI entry. That's the normal way of doing this, and maybe the print UI exe is not having a good time.
Do we need to stop the spooler?
Guess we could stop and start a spooler. This might be a case where that's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
At any rate, this should populate. It does take a little bit of time, and I did actually test this before we came in here.
I've actually used this same method before, just to prove a concept, and yeah, it's worked. It's worked before. We'll cover this in a second. If this doesn't work, we're going to move on to some.
Yeah, let's move on.
So many times though, I have been able to print from just other things, even though it didn't show up. Yeah,
Oh, there it is. All right.
So,
Woohoo! My
Yeah,
package
so
does
stop.
work, guys.
so stopping and starting the spooler service. So
Yeah,
once
I
again,
know.
if you want to do that within the package, how would you do that?
Another command line?
Yeah, you just, and there it is. It took a while to pop up. So yeah, to do this, there's a number of ways you can do it. I'm gonna go back over here to this the package that Lex has. And notice we did the delete. You could do this anywhere you want. I'd probably put it in the add.
Do it. Just stop it prior and then start it just
Yeah,
after.
just do like a. The reason I mean the net commands have been deprecated, but they've been deprecated for years. A lot of people use SC. I like net because it does wait. It waits to for this to return. SC, unless you actually try to tell it to wait, it won't, and so you could run
Do
it.
the start after, the printer. Why don't you do the start after the printer?
Yeah, good point. Okay, we
Don't
can do that.
don't delete the whole thing.
No, you don't want to. You don't want to. Okay, so Lex is saying, let's. No, you don't want to do that, Lex. You want to. You don't want to. You don't ever want to try to add a printer with the spooler service stopped.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Okay, so we would have a.
Yeah, you could. You're probably going to run into RPC errors.
Okay. Good to know.
All right. So if you do that, net stop, net start. If you're going to do a net stop and net start, you're going to want to, modify your success codes. I think it's 1056. You want to make sure that if you're trying to start a service that's already started and it gets an error, that error is considered good. So net start spooler. It's already started. So how do we find out what that error code is? Echo error level. It's 2. Okay, so I'm thinking of SC. So you just want to say like 2.
All right.
That's considered a success. Anyway.
All right,
So that's how you can do it.
Adding one from a print server. Let's move to more difficult and more fun there.
All right.
What
So
do you got
Answer that
next?
question. Did you want to consider it answered?
Oh,
I don't know. We got the delete
Okay,
in
so-
there, and then we got the add and adds for all the users. So I would
Okay,
say.
so Hyduck here. So what we just did here by adding, that's adding a network printer. So the second part of your question is we just showed you that. Now the first part, if you really want to delete all printers, there is a command that you can use, but it won't. This command, I haven't seen it work to remove network printers that someone has added per user. This will delete all local printers, and it will delete it should delete any global network printers. So if you want to do that, you can see I've got delete all printers package here. It really is just a command step running this JJ, zoom in on that. There we go. So notice I'm actually specifying the path here. I'm running cscript. Cscript is the
What you call
command to run VBSs.
VBS.
Yeah, from the command. There's wscript if you want to have the Windows, and cscript from the command line. So we're running cscript, and then this prnmngr, print manager.vbs, exists on all Windows machines. In this path, this is not in your path variable. That's why I've actually spelled out the whole path here. But prn manager VBS /d, that
Is it a slash or a minus?
-d is delete, and -x is all.
Yep.
But once again, this won't work on, I haven't seen this work when you're trying to delete all computers, but you've got a user that's added a computer themselves on a network that is just per user. So this is a great way to clean the slate if you want. So if I wanted to do this, if I ran this to Costanza, And of course, you could run this VBS script before in a step in the package where you're adding printers. You could just run this, say, just delete everything.
Yeah.
So it's running those. We come over here to our devices and printers.
Yep.
Yep, there it is.
working on it,
And
yeah.
it looks like actually, so that's a network printer. Even this is a global one that I still didn't delete it. And it might be that it was the default, but this once again comes down to printers are usually installed per user. So this PRN manager, it's a Windows script. The delete all printers, it will take you only so far. But this is probably the best you're going to do. Look here. All right, so Lex has mentioned, let's go on to something a little bit more difficult. And I'm actually going to come back over here to this forum post from El Trevino. But mostly, I like this. M. Muni had suggested using print BRM. And I had never used that in the method that he was describing. And I think that this use case is for those of you who you've got new computers coming in and you want them to be hit with printers out the gate. This is probably a good way to do this. What he recommends doing, and you can find this documentation online as well, is set up a printer or set up a computer and configure all your local printers. You're usually going to have TCP/IP ports or whatever. Create your printers, and then you run a print BRM and you back up that configuration. You can back it up with just a configuration file, or you can actually include all the drivers. If you do that, then you can deploy that out to a new computer or any computer, but I think a proper use case is for new computers. You can deploy that and say, all these printers, add them. One thing you want to take care of, and I'll show you this, is to break them up by architecture, because print drivers are always based off of 32-bit,
64-bit,
64-bit, etc. So if you go out to this, go out here, you can see. Let's see if I can come down where. Yeah, there he is. So he's got print BRM-B is backup, and then -R is restore, right? So I've got that. I went out to a 32-bit machine and a 64-bit machine, created the a printer that I wanted, and then I just did a.
Show them the package.
Yeah, I did a backup. That is
Add baseline.
print
printers.
BRM. Yeah, add baseline printers. So notice this is just for a Lexmark printer, and it's 32-bit. Then how do you verify that this is only going to run on this step is only going to run on 32-bit?
Use conditions. Now, the thing about it, conditions, you have to have Pro or Enterprise to do that, guys. So if you're going to do it in free mode, you got to make 2 packages out of this thing, and then be sure you deploy them to the right architecture.
Correct.
So.
And if you're going to do free mode, you can't do a command step in free mode. You're going to have to put this command into a batch file.
Yep.
And then call that batch file from the install step. Yeah. So here we are. We're doing a print BRM -R.
Restore.
-O, I'm saying force. And -F, I called it printers x86. Now, convention is to actually have a .printer export file. That I've always seen that to be kind of unnecessary. But
And then also make sure you add the file.
additional files, very important. So here I'm saying add.
Can you make me disappear, JJ? Or there you go. All right.
So where is that file? I place that file out on file server. And we will go right there right now. Let's just do that. Pardon me.
So we add that to the package when we deploy it, and then you can call it.
So you can see I've got printers x86 and printers x64.
Are those the drivers?
Yeah, this is the backup. When you did print BRM -B,
built
yeah,
that.
this create this. Now you can say don't add the actual drivers if you just want the configuration file. But I'm saying now just add the
Send the
drivers.
drivers,
That's why
yeah.
you can see they're 19 and 21 megabytes.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're saying deploy this. Here's a command step for 32-bit. Grab the printer's x86 and run that command. Print BRM, yada yada. And then obviously there's the 64-bit, which we're grabbing a different file, but in the same directory.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and push this. So we'll push this out to a 32-bit and to a 64-bit.
While we're doing that, let's pop up another question.
Cunningham is a 32-bit computer.
Ooh, I like that picture.
Ha!
After I install a printer with PDQ deploy, can I make it the default printer? Bob P.
By doing, I think doing it this way, the print BRM, I think it will move it over. And then, like I said, I've seen it when you're adding a local print, you're creating a port, a TCP/IP port. We'll cover that next.
The last one you add.
Yeah, the last one you add seems to make that the default for all users.
Don't hold us to it, but that's what we seem to see.
Yeah, and I've tested that, logging in as users without administrative rights, different user with administrative rights on that target computer, and it's just become the last one you've added. This, using the network way, the first step that we showed you, haven't seen a lot of success in that one. So
Yeah.
the default, well, when you're talking about network printers, you're probably still going to be per user.
Yeah.
GPO.
Once again, GPO.
When in doubt.
Yeah, so this ran. Notice Cunningham did not run step 1, did not run step 2 because it's a 32-bit, and obviously Costanza did not run step 1. Nah. Sorry, JJ.
That's okay.
Let's take a peek. Perfect.
There we go.
And you can see that we already had the Lexmark on token, but now there's a new one, Lexmark MS310. So the print BRM did not make that one the default. But
Yep.
So this is a way, now, interestingly enough, this is a local printer. So this installed the drivers on this machine. This is when someone prints to this guy, they're not printing to the print server.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, so all right. So we've got the BRM, which is great. Thank you, by the way. What was the guy's name that helped us out with that one?
Oh, M-Uni.
M-Uni.
That
Thank
was
you.
really interesting. I'd never seen that before. I like that, and he's usually a fairly active fellow on the forums.
So let's do, adding an IP port and adding
No.
a printer. We don't want to do that?
We'll do that
Oh,
one.
we're going to do it.
All right, so here's another one. Now, let's see. Here it is. Let's see. Lexmark using not that's IP port.
There you go.
So there's when you want to create a port, a TCP/IP port on your computer, on your target computer, and then add the printer. So this is not using the print BRM, but this is kind of scripting it out. It's kind of the same thing that if you look at that El Trevino article that we pointed to earlier, he kind of breaks this out how he does it. I do it slightly different, but what he does is fantastic. So the first thing I like to do is actually delete. I'm going to make this a little easier to read, JJ. You might want to zoom in on that a little bit. So running C script again, and in that same path that we talked about, System32
So
printing.
this is basically the delete, same as we did before.
Notice we're running two different commands. We're running two different VBS scripts. One is the print manager, where we're saying delete this printer if it exists, this printer name. And then delete the port. Yeah. You delete that port. Run those, and then another step to add the port. And that's the syntax. And once again, if you want to find out what the usage is, a great way to do this is to actually run that command and just try it with like a dash or a slash question mark. So we know it's in printing admin scripts, and then it's based off the language that you're at. So we're English US.
PRN port.
So I'm going to do, you have to run C script, and then PRN, well, I'm going to do MGR first, .VBS.
There you
And
go.
there's your usage. So you can see for adding or deleting a printer, that's what we follow. And the
Center that
same, sorry, JJ.
And then again, for the following would be the port, so you can see the options on printer ports.
Pardon me, port.
There you go.
There's the usage for that. Once again, just to show you how we pull that information up. So now add port, we're going to add this port. And a convention, and I did this differently with the print BRM so I wouldn't step on anything. A convention when you're naming ports or when you're creating a TCP/IP port is to actually preface the port name with IP. That's just a convention, it's not required.
It's a good practice.
And then the address. I'm not using name resolution, I'm just putting the actual IP address of the printer. If you use DHCP, if you don't have your printer statically assigned IP addresses, then make sure you have your name resolution set properly.
Okay, so this runs regardless of architecture, 32 or 64-bit. This one's good there for both. Actually,
Yes, that's for the adding of a port.
Yep.
Now the install
Printer. Yeah.
Lexmark, because most printers will base it off of architecture. Notice on this one, I'm actually calling a batch file. And the reason I'm doing that, boy, this is a long one, I apologize, I'm going to hit end. The reason I'm doing that, calling a batch file, is because there's a lot of files that I needed to add from a lot of different directories. When you're running a command step, it's not as easy to add those files. Here I can just say include entire directory. And let's take a peek. Let's take a peek at where this is. I'm going to go back out here to.
Click on that guy.
Well, I actually want to open this up.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to open that modal window. Oh, there it is already. So in here, you're going to see drivers. I've got my batch files. Okay, install Lexmark x64bat and x86. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to hold your hand, man.
And then, so I went, basically, we got these files from the vendor, from Lexmark.
Yep.
And I just placed this, I didn't want to grab everything. It's like a 180 meg file. I just want the drivers. I don't want the install file, the whole installation, you know, their application. So I just place this here, and under print, GDI, you see all these different, you know, all these different drivers and stuff
and
like
options
that.
there, yep.
Here's the actual drivers down here. Now, when you're doing it this way, there's a lot of room for error. I'm going to come back over here.
Let's open the batch file.
I will. Yeah, let's open that batch file. Thank you.
Drivers. Dink.
So you're saying, how do I know what to put in here? That when you're adding files, or you're adding drivers, creating a port, and then adding those drivers locally to the machine, you know, a print server does all of this behind the scenes. But here you actually have to specify which drivers to install, and it's usually done from an INF file. And notice, okay, yeah, you can see here I'm actually using the old convention run DLL 32, and then it's the print UI dot or comma print UI entry. You could do the same thing by you running print UI exe.
Yeah.
Anyway, how do you find out what that syntax is? We showed you earlier.
Yep.
Just run print UI.
It looks like, you know, obviously you got to call the printer, name the printer, you got to go, and you have to add the port that
So
you've created.
so IF, I'm adding the printer. /B, you can call it whatever you want. Here I just said Lexmark MS310. But the /B is an important one. Now, the /F is, you know, what printer driver to install. And so you specify the INF file. That's the INF file. But guess what? This INF file also requires another Windows INF file called ntprint. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. You do that, you can see I have later on a /F, which means this is what follows is a prerequisite INF file. So I'm actually adding two different drivers here. How can you tell if this works? Well, if you don't, in this case, if I didn't call ntprint, I would notice the printer just never would get installed.
Yep.
So, you know, there's some trial and error here. And then really important is, you know, how do I know /M is the model? And that model is, you can't just make that up. That model is in the INF file that you're going to have. So you come back over here to, you know, find that INF file. There it is. Edit. Hey, you guys are the ones who asked to do this. So you come down. You can see,
There's
in this INF file, that's the actual name. That's the model that we're adding. So yeah, it's important to have that because when you're loading that INF file, it's going to look for that model and
to determine what drivers to install.
Yeah, it's very, very important, you guys.
Yep.
And El Trevino, I think, breaks this down in his blog
yeah.
post or his article on the forums. All right, so let's do that.
Costanza, here we come.
Now let's do Childs. We've already messed with Costanza enough.
Beat Costanza.
Yeah.
Once again, these are machines, not people, guys. So we just name them after shows we've been watching or people we know.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a remote desktop on Childs real quick, so you can see that there's nothing under there's nothing under our sleeves.
Nothing up our sleeves. Yeah.
Under our sleeves, of course. Thank you. I get mixed metaphors. I'm gonna come over here to devices and printers. Why? So this is the computer Childs. I'm going to add a printer. If I was to do this all manually, I'd add a local printer, and I'd say, use create a new port, and then I'd say standard TCP/IP, yada yada. You can see we don't have an existing TCP/IP port there. All right, so
Once again, nothing up our sleeves. Abracadabra, we'll launch it. I like to do my favorite thing while we deploy, which is drink beverage there, pal.
Hey, there's an Archer drinking game.
There's an Archer
Yeah, I
drinking
saw.
game?
Did you see that, JJ?
Yeah, it only ends in death.
It ends in death.
It's great. You know, there's one drink, 2 drinks, 3 drinks, and it's, you know, someone gets fired. It's like 2 drinks. Archer punches somebody and on his fellow employee. It's 3 drinks. It's pretty good.
Wow. It ends in death. I like it. I'm empty, guys. We must be.
So let's say I'm going to look at the output real quick. First thing, we cleared the port. There's no printer that that port did not exist, nor did the printer that we're deleting.
Excellent.
But it's important to add that if you inadvertently push this out to a machine that already has this. Just clear it out
There's a port that was created.
and notice, yep, so now let's verify if that port was in fact created. Of course, we might have to.
Oh, hey, there's the printer.
There's Lexmark. So if we go to add printer, add a local printer, you can see right
Oh,
there.
there's our IP
there's
port.
IP port. There's our IP port. All right.
There you go, guys.
Yep. And
I
if we-
think. Do we have any more questions, JJ?
No, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up.
We're gonna wrap.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
go ahead and pick your winners.
print.
Pick the winners. Pick the
Or
winners.
think about the winners and then pick them on our.
All right. So can we bounce those questions back up?
Well, we had this one which we didn't put up, but it was on the chat.
Robert
We're gonna
Graham.
include it. And then we had this first one,
Yeah.
and then Bob the Monkey had a
So
question.
yeah, two of those were kind of similar,
Yeah.
but you know, once again, I love the photo.
You know what? Yeah. Let's take care of this one because we got
Bob.
a photo there.
Yeah.
the
So
monkey.
once again, you can run into problems
Yeah.
with that. The default stuff is really kind of hit and miss. I've seen it work. I've seen it not work. I've never seen it work with
All the time.
Yeah, with network printer when you're doing a network printer. Because and especially now we're looking at Windows 7 machines. Once you hit Windows 8 and up, Microsoft really started to clamp down on default applications, and printers are no exception. Especially once you get up there, they want users to choose their default applications, and printers are just kind of the same way. So. You might run into that. If you guys find a way to do that, I would love to know. Post it on our forums because, you know.
Yeah. Appreciate the posts that helped us out with our webcast today. And they've been there a while, but we do appreciate
They have,
those.
and hopefully this answered some of your questions. Always grab the drivers from the vendor if you're going to do step 3 or step 2, but definitely consider using the print servers. You
Yeah.
know.
I want to leave you with a thought. Whiskey's not just for breakfast anymore, people.
Oh my goodness. So did we get winners? Sorry.
So
I
we
was-
got
Yeah,
Bob,
the photo.
Bob. And
and I don't know.
there was the one about the /y, and then there was the one about deleting.
Yeah, we'll hit deleting. I think Bob.
Deleting? Okay.
Bob and
deleting.
Dakir.
The cure.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for
Appreciate you watching.
throwing that down, and rock on, you guys.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. Our raffle winner was George T. So George, if you'll check your email, I will get you that t-shirt. And we'll see you guys next Thursday.